my name is Genevieve. Welcome to my kitchen, and today I'm going to show you how to make Bibingka Galapong. Bibingka Galapong is a rice cake where Galapong means it's made with a fermented rice flour water mix. Bibingka is a popular dessert, and it especially shines during the Christmas season as Filipinos attend Simbang Gabi or night mass. So Simba means church or mass, and gabi means night. So night mass occurs every day for 9 days before Christmas, and bibingka is usually served after mass along with other yummy Filipino foods. Now, where I'm from in Southern California, there is a restaurant called Manila Sunset Grill that is known to serve the best bibingka. I have tried the traditional bibingka made with all the cheeses and the salted egg, and I've also tried Manila Sunset's bibingka, and personally, I wholeheartedly agree. Like, Manila Sunset's bibingka is so good, and yes, they do have the best bibingka in my opinion, and I can't even tell you how many trials and errors I went through to create this recipe. But I hope that everybody could appreciate the thought and effort that I did put into it so that you can have a delicious homemade Manila Sunset bibingka at home. I have a bibingka here that I bought from Manila Sunset. It has two very distinct cake layers. The bottom layer is actually a totally different cake, and this cake is called BIKA AMBON. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but BIKA AMBON is an Indonesian honeycomb cake. If you look closer at this honeycomb, it's very spongy in texture and it has like a lot of holes in it, like a honeycomb. So I feel like I have to say that Manila Sunset bibingka is not a traditional Filipino bibingka. It's more like a hybrid dessert that combines a bibingka with a honeycomb cake to become one delicious, amazing dessert. So you always want to start this recipe by making the BIKA AMBON first, only because the cake batter needs to sit for 3 to 4 hours to create all the bubbles needed for that spongy honeycomb texture. For your starter, you will need some water, all-purpose flour, sugar, and instant yeast. Then for your cake, you will need some coconut milk, some velveeta cheese, eggs, flour, tapioca starch or tapioca flour, all-purpose flour, and glutinous rice flour. All right, set your cake ingredients aside because we need to start with our starter first. The ideal temperature for yeast to activate is between 105 and 110. You could probably push it with 115 degrees, but if you don't have a thermometer, then just stick your finger in your water and it should feel comfortable, a little slightly warmer than body temperature, okay? Add your flour and sugar. The yeast is going to feed off of this. Okay, so mix it a little, then add your yeast. Now I'm going to cover this and I'm going to let this sit for 15 minutes. All right, my starter is done. Your starter needs to look like this, okay? If it's not bubbly, then you should not proceed. You need to start over. If your yeast does not look like that, then your cake is not going to turn out right. So moving on, I am going to heat my cheese and my coconut milk. I got this kind of Velveeta cheese in the refrigerator section of my grocery store, just in case you're wondering. I'm going to pop this in the microwave real quick. Now that it's heated, make sure you mix it very well and get that cheese and that coconut milk really incorporated. It should look like one homogeneous mixture. Okay, set this aside. Now I'm going to beat my eggs and my sugar. And you want to beat this till it's super, super foamy. I beat this for about 2 minutes to get it this light and foamy. This is my yeast, and I'm going to add it slowly and beat it on low. I have my tapioca starch, Quiet! Okay, set that aside, and now you're gonna get your 3 flours. I have my tapioca starch, my all-purpose flour, and my glutinous rice flour, and I'm going to sift them. Are you still with me? Okay, this is the last step. So I have my coconut milk and my velveeta cheese, my eggs and my sugar, and my flour. So now I'm going to alternate adding these two here. I'm going to start with my flour. Put about half. Put half. Put half of that. Put all of this. And all of this. I want to start and end with flour. Okay, so just mix until it's incorporated. Now you have this really bubbly, thick batter. Cover this. Let this ferment for 3 to 4 hours, either at room temperature or someplace that's warm. For the top layer bibingka cake, you will need some water, some cream cheese, some coconut cream, and you can use coconut milk here. I just feel like using coconut cream yields a moister cake. Butter, egg, and yeast. And for my dry ingredients, you will need some glutinous rice flour, some rice flour, white sugar, a little bit of salt, and baking powder. Make your wet ingredients a homogeneous mix. So I am going to add my water, my cream cheese, my coconut cream, and my butter into this, and I'm going to heat it up. Going to the microwave. I'm back from the microwave. Okay, so it's heated, so I'm just going to whisk it. I can't tell the ingredients apart, so now I'm going to add my egg. Mix that. If you recall earlier in the video when I was explaining what a Bibingka Galapong is, where Galapong is a fermented rice flour with water, well, I'm not fermenting anything, and that's the only purpose for this yeast, is to give it that fragrance as if I were using a Galapong. Mix that in there. Set this aside while we work with the dry ingredients. All you do is add them all together. So here goes my glutinous rice flour, sugar, salt, baking powder, and then mix this in. I have mixed it till it's very nice and smooth. So now I'm going to set this aside. BIKA AMBON is typically baked on the bottom rack of your oven with the oven door cracked a little bit. And unfortunately for my oven, once you open the door, it stops working. It won't turn back on until you close the door. So I am going to be baking my BIKA AMBON a different way on the stovetop. If you have an oven that operates like mine, then preheat your oven to 400 degrees, because after we're done making the BIKA AMBON on the stovetop, we're going to transfer it to the oven right away. But if your oven is not like mine and it will still continue to work with the oven door open, then you want to preheat your oven to 300 degrees. The top bibingka cake layer bakes at 400 degrees. So 5, 6, 7 minutes into baking your BIKA AMBON, you want to change your oven setting to 400 degrees. To prepare your pan, and you're going to need a banana leaf for this, and preferably your banana leaf doesn't have any cracks in it. If you have cracks, then the batter could seep through and it just gets in the way of that spongy honeycomb texture. Take a damp towel and just wipe all that dirt off. See? If you don't have access to banana leaves where you're from, you can always line your pan with parchment paper. And the biggest difference if you do that is that your bibingka will lack a certain fragrance and taste that the banana leaves provide. Now I'm going to pass my banana leaf through a flame or a heat source for 2 reasons. One is to kill off whatever bacteria is still on this banana leaf, and 2 is to make it really flexible. When you heat it, it's more pliable so that I can place it into my pan. You can see it kind of change color. That's when it's done, and you just want to do a pass on each surface. Cut this off. This brown piece right here, I feel like is not very flexible. I got a circle pan with another pan that's kind of smaller than that, just because it makes it easier to like press down. See? Forms it nicely. This is how I improvise in cooking with bottom heat only, is I grab my cast iron skillet because it doesn't warp. So if you don't have this, just find a surface that won't warp when it heats. You're gonna wanna place your BIKA AMBON in a pan that's really hot. So as this heats up, I'm gonna place that in there too. I'm gonna show you my BIKA AMBON mix, and it should be this bubbly. Okay. Whisk my BIKA AMBON cake mix until it's no longer bubbly. See how liquidy my cake batter got? It's ready to pour, so I'm going to take this out. See the bubbles starting to form? That'll give me my honeycomb. This is where I want to stop, is where it's still like not completely, woo, it's so smoky, sorry. Where it's not completely cooked yet, but you could see in the middle still like some watery. Add my bibingka mix on top. Now I'm going to bake this. Okay, my bibingka is done. It baked for 19 minutes, and then I set it on broil for an additional 2 minutes to get this nice dark brown color on top. Now with Manila Sunset's bibingka, they typically have this white ring around, and that's with the differences in the cake batter when you pour the bibingka on the semi-wet BIKA AMBON mix. Now, when I was trying to explain the procedure, that created a delay in me pouring it, and as I was explaining it, the BIKA AMBON continued to cook, and by the time I poured the bibingka batter, the BIKA AMBON batter was no longer wet and it was really, really cooked. If you want that ring, you need to pour the bibingka batter when the BIKA AMBON is still semi-wet. Right when I take the bibingka out of the oven, I like to coat it with butter and sprinkle some white sugar on top. The last part is the cheese, and I am confident that Manila Sunset tops their bibingka off with queso de bola, which just means cheese ball. And it's a white cheese that has a red casing and it's shaped like a ball. And it's really hard to find queso de bola. Like, I can't find it anywhere here, but it is a cheese that is nutty and salty with a little hint of sweetness. So what I have found that substitutes really, really well is Parmesan cheese. Sprinkle some on top. And this is my copycat of Manila Sunset's bibingka. It is time to go over the results, and honestly, I'm so nervous because I am really hoping that it turns out amazing. I have Manila Sunset's bibingka here for reference. I did it! You can see both layers, the BIKA AMBON and the bibingka right there. I can't even tell you how happy I am. Here's Manila Sunset and here's mine. Now it's time for a taste test. Let's do this. Manila Sunset. There is one difference with these two, and what this bibingka has that this does not is the homemade taste. You do have to think about how Manila Sunset is able to bang a bunch of these out over and over again throughout the day. Every day it's commercialized. I mean, I do have to give it to them for making something that tastes pretty darn good, but once you've had the homemade version, it really does make this taste commercialized. My opinion, take it for its worth. I really hope you enjoyed this video and this recipe. If you have any questions at all, you can drop it in the comment section below, or you can send me a message on Facebook. You can send me a message on Instagram. There are many ways to get a hold of me and ask your question. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on all the other recipes that I want to share with you. Thanks for joining me in my kitchen and wanting me make this Bibingka Galapong. Thanks for watching. Bye.